The college basketball experience. Coach Jim Larranaga steps down, and what is next for the Miami Hurricanes edition on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Use that sign-up code TCESGPN to get a 50% deposit up to $1,000. That is the Underdog Fantasy promo code TCESGPN. And we're also brought to you by Rhythms, the data-driven leader in picks, props. Get your 7-day free trial today by going over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That is the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM today. Welcome, everybody, into the college basketball experience. Breaking news portion. Not really breaking news. It did break, 5 hours ago? But breaking down the news on the college basketball slate. No games tonight. Limited action here tomorrow, and then the games get going again on Saturday. My plan was not to see you guys again until Saturday, but the news cycle did not allow that to happen. So I am here to break down the Jim Larranaga news, what's next for Miami, and how does the season finish for the Canes as well? So first off, though, I am Moneyline Mac, aka the former video coordinator for Bob Huggins and Frank Martin. Also known as Mac Tonight over here at the College Experience. And cheers, everybody! I hope everybody had a great Christmas. I am, like I said, I'm not at my home studio, so I am making it work here, and I hope everybody had a good time with family before we kick things back off with games starting on Saturday. But let's get right into it. Coach Jim Larranaga retires from the Miami Hurricanes, effective immediately. Bill Courtney, longtime assistant, will take over. He was the head coach at Cornell as well. Coach Larranaga, I got to pull up his stats: 744 wins, 508 losses, 2 Final Fours, 2 different programs at Miami in 2023. Obviously, the Elite Eight the year before that as well. But, of course, the memorable one, I think that everybody that kind of put Coach Larranaga on the map was in 2006 when he led George Mason to the Final Four, beating Michigan State, North Carolina, Wichita, and then UConn in D.C., and then ultimately fall into that Florida Gator team that won back-to-back. So for me, a little bittersweet, I'm not going to lie. I grew up in the Fairfax area. Shout out to Clark in the chat. I went to Jim Larranaga basketball camp growing up. I remember the Chris Caputos, who's now the head coach at George Washington. I remember Eric Conkle, who's the head coach at Tulsa. Tony Skinn, who's now the head coach at George Mason. They were camp counselors at that time. So it's kind of it was tough seeing the news that Coach Larranaga has finally shut it down, but I think we owe him a congratulations on a hell of a career. Like I said, winning over 60% of your games, taking 2 different programs to the first and only ever Final Fours. He finishes. He's been at Miami for the last 14 years, going 274 and 174. And he took Miami to another level. I mean, they had sucked before he got there. Gets him to 6 NCAA tournaments, Final Four, an Elite Eight, even a Sweet 16 as well, 2 Sweet 16s. And that was after he spent 15 years at George Mason, of course, to elevate that program. And I think people forget he did a good job at Bowling Green as well, from 86 to 97. So ultimately, a good career. Tip of the cap. Cheers to Jim Larranaga, one of my all-time favorite coaches. Like I said, I went to this camp growing up in the Fairfax area. So does suck, is what it is. And we lose another legendary head coach in the Atlantic Coast Conference. So kind of just to sum it up, in the last 5-ish years now, I guess Pitino is a little bit outside that 5. He was way outside 5 years. But Krzyzewski at Duke, Roy Williams at Carolina, Boeheim at Syracuse, Tony Bennett this fall, and now Jim Larranaga. So I'm going to talk about what that means on the other side. I'm going to talk about some potential candidates. I think we all agree Miami's kind of a sitting duck the rest of the year, and they're going to begin this search ASAP to get this program relevant again, because it's been a tough couple years for the Hurricanes, who sit at currently 4-8 on the year, coming off a 15-17 year. It's hard to believe that this program was in the Final Four, 18 months ago or 20 months ago. And it's really taken a turn for the worse. And I think Larranaga is stepping away at the right time. So, let's pay the bills real quick, and we'll talk about potential candidates on the other side. But first, get on over there and subscribe. Smash that like button. The race 15K is on now. Get all your podcasts and picks for free in one spot. We still got some work to do. 15K, guys. We only got 5 days left, so get on over there. Like and subscribe. Tell a friend. Bring 20 friends. Rig the system and hack into your family and friends' iPhones this holiday season, and make sure they're subscribed so we get the 15K. It can stay on the interwebs. We are also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Promo code TCESGPN. Get on over there. Special pick and first time deposit. Offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Underdog Fantasy. Promo code TCESGPN. We are also brought to you by MyBookie. MyBookie is alive, better than ever, baby. New app for a 100% deposit match up to $1,000 plus a $10 casino chip. I currently got Toledo plus 6.5. Hopefully they can hold on, because each chip hit always. And make sure you use that promo code TCESGPN. Last but not least, we're brought to you by Rhythm. Start claiming your 7-day free trial today by going over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. Get their models over there today. Sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That is the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM today. Alrighty, let's fire away on what this means. So Miami will finish the year with Bill Courtney, like I talked about, longtime assistant, longtime coach in the industry. So well-respected guy. They'll give a professional effort, I think. I know that it's been a lot of it's been a tough year for Miami basketball. Football-wise, obviously a really good year, or for the most part a good year, underperforming when it mattered, but 10-2. And that gets me into what's next for Miami. Miami's got money. I don't think it's any secret to anybody. Can they duplicate what they've done on the football field? Obviously, they buy Nigel Pack 2 years ago, and then they just have kind of struck out portal edition after portal edition. Guys have transferred out, whether it's Norchad Amir, guys have graduated, Jordan Miller. It just has not worked over the last year. So that gets me into this. This is a pivotal hire for Miami, because the ACC is wide open. I mean, you got Duke, you got Carolina, kind of. I mean, I think the jury is still out on Hubert Davis and company. If they can be consistent over time. They've proven that they can pop up for a year, but they still have not been able to do it back-to-back years. Clemson has been a model of consistency over the last couple of years under Brad Brownell. So can they continue to stay at the top? We'll see about that. And Florida State, I would imagine that Leonard's probably going to step down as well at some point. So that'll open up that job. And Virginia's open at the end of the year. I know Sanchez is trying to audition for that job, but they need to they basically need to win the league from what we've seen so far this year. Virginia will open at the end of the year. And the other job at Louisville, Kelsey just took over. Can Kelsey elevate Louisville to what it used to be? So that's another one where I think that job can elevate into what it used to be. Syracuse didn't get their hire right with Altrey. I know it's only year 2, but I'd be surprised if he's the guy long term. And so it gets me to my point of the ACC is wide open outside of Duke right now. So Miami's got money. They need to invest in this hire. We talked about it with the SEC, the Big 12, why they've been able to be the top program or top leagues in the country, because they've invested, especially the SEC, whether it's Beard at Ole Miss, Chris Jans at Mississippi State, Buzz at A&M, Barnes at Tennessee. Just this last cycle with Byington coming over from JMU to Vanderbilt. We've had Dennis Gates take the Missouri job. Guys that have won at the mid-major level and gotten a big payday, or guys that have won at other spots like Bruce Pearl and Nate Oates, and they've gotten a big payday out of this. So they need to invest heavy in this hire, like Louisville just did with Pat Kelsey. And that gets me to my top 5 on this job search for the Miami Hurricanes. At number 1, and I think that this is going to be a sexy name for a lot of jobs, I got Will Wade. You want to energize the fan base? You pick up that phone and offer strong ass offer there for Will Wade, because I think he could get that thing going right away in Miami and that NIL collective. He's proven that he can win in the era of the portal NIL, and I think Will Wade would be awesome at Miami, and I think they would go right to the top into that Duke, Carolina. Then I'm talking about the Louisvilles of the world, potentially going forward. So Will Wade would be my number 1. My number 2 would be, and he's from Miami, that is Anthony Grant. He grew up in Miami. He coached in the high school ranks in Miami with Frank Martin. They were on the same staff together for long time, legendary coach Shaky. And I think he'd be a home run hire over from Dayton. I think he would run to Miami personally for kind of his retirement job. So I think Anthony Grant and Will Wade are definitely head and shoulders 1, 2. And then I just came up with some other names that came to mind, but I think 1 and 2 are it's 1 and 2, and then everybody else. Chris Caputo at G-Dub, I mentioned it. He's been a long time assistant for Jim Larranaga. He was at Miami. Now he's the head coach of George Washington. I think he'd be a good hire as well. But I think that they need to make a splash. So that's why those other 2 guys are ahead. Bob Ritchie at Furman's a good option, I think. He's had a lot of sustained success over the last decade with the Paladins. I think he's a name to watch. And then Siddle over there at Wilmington. I think we've talked about it over and over, them winning 20-plus games year after year after year at Wilmington. Keats took the NC State job. He's made the jump. He went to a Final Four last year. Does that help a guy like Takayo Siddle over at Wilmington? I saw a name kind of pop up here over the last couple hours, Richard Pitino. I didn't really think about him initially, but it does make sense to a certain degree because he coached at FIU. And he's had success in that region, but he was only there for a year. So, but he is a Pitino. He will energize the fan base, and that's the main thing I'm getting at with this hire. They need to hire a name, and they need to hire somebody that will bring excitement and energy into this program, and that's why Will Wade was the top guy for me for this Miami job, and then Anthony Grant. So those are the names to watch. If I had to make a pick right now, who I think it'll be, I think it would be Anthony Grant. I actually think that Anthony Grant will be the next Miami coach. But if I was to make the hire, it would be Will Wade. So we'll see. It's early in the speculation. Obviously, there's going to be many other jobs that open. We don't know. I mean, Miami might be the 3rd or 4th best job that opens this offseason. As of right now, we know Virginia's open and Miami's open, and that's all we know. So, yeah, that's all I got. I had to break the news or dive into it, my take on it, and I appreciate you guys firing up in the chat. We will be back, like I said, tomorrow night to break down the preview and picks for Saturday. And shout out to the chat with Clark, David, Ryan Hasty as well. You guys are awesome. Hope you guys had a great Christmas. This has been another edition of TCE Trim with Moneyline Mac. I appreciate it, guys. Hope you guys have a great time with your family. See you tomorrow night, and Mac tonight, signing off over here at the College Basketball Experience. You better start thinking about yours, especially you, Miami, and we are out of here.